The branding ace. Why Coco Gauff won the Rolex deal. You can win a Grand Slam. You can become the world number one. But if you can't control your image, you can still be leapfrogged in the value race by a teenage girl. That is exactly what just happened. When Rolex announced Coco Gauff as their new brand ambassador, the global tennis community was almost shocked. Not because Coco isn't deserving, but because Aryna Sabalenka, who has more titles, a higher ranking, and is equally famous, was completely overlooked. It took just one 45-second video, filmed on a local court with a phone, featuring the voiceover of her own father. No dramatic effects, no glamorous highlights, but that clip garnered millions of views in just 24 hours. Because it hit on something no ranking can measure, emotion that can be conveyed through the lens. Coco doesn't speak much, but every time she appears, she makes people feel one message. I'm not just competing. I stand for something. And the multi-billion-dollar brands, they see that before you can even name it. Conversely, Aryna Sabalenka, who has never been afraid to express herself, chose absolute silence after the Rolex campaign. No congratulations. No hidden hints. But that very silence became the focal point. Fans called it envy silence, the unspoken jealousy. And memes featuring Sabalenka with a Casio watch started appearing everywhere. Why was one athlete chosen as an icon, while the other became a subject of ridicule? Is modern tennis no longer a game of aces, but a competition of personal storytelling? And is Sabalenka's raw, unfiltered personality becoming a disadvantage in the age of image? The 17th minute of this video will reveal a brief, yet powerful, moment from behind the scenes. Just a single glance from Sabalenka is enough to make you understand why silence is sometimes the loudest scream. If you care about the brand battles in the world of sports, don't forget to subscribe to the Pro Tennis 360 channel. What happens after the flash is always more worth watching than what you see on the court. From public courts to power deals, Coco Gauff wasn't built in a lab. Coco Gauff wasn't raised on the grass of Wimbledon or the clay of Roland Garros. She wasn't born into a 5-star European training academy. She started on a public cement court in Delray Beach, Florida, where the sun didn't just burn the skin, but also melted the limits of belief. Her father is a former athlete, her mother a teacher. They didn't have an entourage. No brand strategists. Just a 5-year-old girl holding a plastic racket, bought hastily during a trip to the supermarket, telling her dad, "I want to play like Serena." And so, every afternoon after school, they went to the court. No foreign coach. No fancy uniforms. Her mother filmed every serve with a Nokia. Her father corrected her posture with repeated phrases. In their world, the only light was the setting sun, and the absolute belief that, if their child had the fire, no stadium lights were needed. Once, Coco asked her father, "Do I have a chance?" He simply said, "If you play like you're practicing today, you're already at the tournament." That answer, both realistic and miraculous, became the fuel for a black girl to overcome the expensive sports system, which was designed to keep the gates closed to those who didn't come from the elite. In tennis, people rarely talk about those who aren't chosen. But Coco, without scholarships, without privilege, still stepped into the main draw, without anyone's invitation. And then, the most interesting thing, even when Coco started winning, no one truly believed she would become an icon. To them, she was just another teenage phenomenon who would flash and disappear. They were wrong, because the Rolex video wasn't a sudden moment. It was proof of a silent, precise, and unswerving plan, much like her forehand. Not the strongest, but always landing on the mark. And if you've ever watched someone play tennis with a plastic racket and 15 years later, they appear in a global Rolex campaign, then you know, that is no longer just sport. It is a legacy built with bare hands. The Venus match that birthed the brand. Wimbledon 2019. Coco Gauff entered the main draw not by ranking, but by a wild card, a ticket for those worth watching. At 15, Coco was not only the youngest player in the qualifying rounds. She also faced her childhood idol, Venus Williams. The media called it an initiation ceremony, a symbolic match where the young girl would learn from the pioneer. But Coco didn't come to learn. She came to play, and she won. Every shot by Coco that day was like a definitive stroke in her future personal brand. Confident, precise, unpretentious, but it made the entire center court rise to its feet. When the match ended, Venus stepped forward to shake hands. She whispered, "I'm so proud of you." But the world outside had already begun whispering something else. Serena 2.0. Coco smiled when she heard that name, but showed no euphoria. In the press conference, she didn't cry, wasn't dramatic. She quietly said, "I always believed I could do it. Today is just day one." Day one. From that moment, the Coco brand was no longer her parents' dream. It became the most sought-after media asset in women's tennis since Serena's debut. Sponsorship poured in. The media called her the new hope. But Coco wasn't rushing. She and her family refused many attractive contracts. The reason? They wanted to change her. And that is the first difference between Coco and the prodigies who rise and fade. She doesn't chase the spotlight. She controls it, with the heart of a player, but the mind of a strategist. And you? Do you remember the first time Sabalenka appeared? Or do you only remember the time she smashed her third racket after a double fault? Sabalenka, power, rage, and media rejection. Aryna Sabalenka was not born to be universally liked. She doesn't follow media scripts, doesn't feign gentleness, doesn't write a caption thanking the audience after every loss. She arrives on court with the look of a fighter, throws the ball like throwing a projectile. Sometimes she scolds herself right on the court. To hardcore fans, she is what tennis was missing, unpolished nonconformist. But to the media and brands, she is a problem with too many variables. Sabalenka reached world number one. She has grand slams. She possesses muscular strength that even male commentators exclaim is an ace from the arm of Nadal. But every time she makes headlines, the title is always Sabalenka and the rage on court. Even when she wins, she is asked, "Did you control your emotions better today?" That image, the girl yelling into the void, crying uncontrollably after defeat, or quietly walking away without answering interviews, has created a reverse brand. A brand of directness, wildness, and unpredictability. And Coco? Every glance becomes material for a fashion campaign. Every quote can be turned into a slogan printed on a sneaker. Sabalenka doesn't need to write slogans, because her life is the slogan. But that's the problem. Her slogan is too real to be commercialized. Thus, when Rolex chose Coco and Sabalenka remained silent, some said, "She's jealous." But if you are someone who climbed up by your own strength, without a consultant team, without an image team, and then saw someone else chosen simply because they are popular taste, how would you feel? This is no longer about who plays better. It's about who is easier to consume on the global media front. Brands don't chase Coco. They wait to be chosen. After Wimbledon 2019, Coco could have signed numerous contracts. But she and her family didn't want to become a one-season phenomenon. They wanted to build an icon that would last decades. And to do that, they didn't choose the strongest brand. They chose the brand that understood the message. From New Balance, Barilla, Bows to Head, every campaign reflects a part of Coco's personality. The girl of family values, personal discipline, and calm inner strength. Nike once made an appealing offer. But when they learned they wanted to fully control the image, the Gauff family refused. Because Coco is not a product to be redesigned. She is the image that brands need. Rolex chose Coco not because she won the most, but because she represents what the Gen Z generation craves. Authenticity in a world full of edits. No tears, no lengthy posts. But every time she appears, Coco seems to send a message. I'm not here just to win. I'm here to redefine how young people succeed. And that is what brands call long-term value. You might be as powerful as Sabalenka, but if you don't control your story, can you become an icon? 2 lives, 2 legacies. A typical day for Coco Gauff begins at 6 a.m. Gym. 9 a.m. Technical training. 1 p.m. Meeting with a sports psychologist. 3 p.m. Meeting with a brand partner. 6 p.m. a brief live stream thanking fans, and sharing a movie she's watching. Every activity is meticulously scheduled, yet maintains a personal touch. Coco is the perfect Gen Z archetype, disciplined, friendly, with absolute control over every layer of her image. Every post on Coco's Instagram has a purpose. Not to show off, but to tell a part of the story. An old photo, a simple caption like day 1 to day 100 is enough to generate thousands of shares because people see themselves in her, someone who knows exactly who she is and knows how to make the world see it. Aryna Sabalenka is different. She is the pure athlete type, pays no attention to captions, doesn't follow trends. Her off-season day? Boxing practice, eating rare steak, playing with her dog. If she posts anything, it's often a sweaty face photo with the caption, "Still here, still fighting." No polish, no edits. Just Aryna, a raw ball of energy, just as she is. To die-hard fans, Sabalenka is authenticity without a backdrop. But to a brand, she is a question mark. Because when brands look for ambassadors, they don't just look for achievements. They look for the balance between power and control. And Coco is the default answer. Perhaps no one says it out loud, but looking at the headlines tells the story. One person lands on the cover of Time. The other makes it into the drama of the day section. And in a world where image matters more than reason, who wears a Rolex is not about who is stronger, but about who makes people want to look longer. The 45 seconds that changed everything. The Rolex campaign did not use Grand Slam highlights. No slow-motion winning points. No dramatic music. Just a girl running on a cracked clay court, the watch subtly visible under her sleeve, and her father's voice resounding. When she saw Serena, she said, "Dad, I want to be like that too." In 45 seconds, the clip garnered over 2 million views. No effects, no grand dialogue. But it wasn't an advertisement. It was a memory framed. And while Coco received thousands of congratulations, Sabalenka, who is usually active online, disappeared. No likes, no stories. That silence became the focus. Fans started spreading screenshots, still no move. Then the hashtag still no watch appeared. One meme was shared wildly, a photo of Sabalenka looking at her bare wrist with a caption, "Time flies, but not for everyone." Can we laugh? Yes. But for those living in the tennis world, that was a real psychological blow. Because Rolex doesn't just choose who is winning now. They choose who is remembered as a symbol of time. And Sabalenka, despite her strength, despite her titles, is still not called by that word. Timeless. Perhaps she understands that well. Maybe her silence isn't due to envy, but because of a deep understanding. When you don't control your story, someone else will write it for you. When Rolex tells stories, not time. Have you ever seen a Rolex advertisement that emphasized technical specifications? Never. They don't sell a product. They sell an emotion. And the Coco video is the perfect example. Soft lighting, muted gray colors, the voice of a loved one telling a story, and not a word about the price. No need, because the value lies in the meaning you attach to the watch. The final tagline, sport can help you become a better person. It doesn't talk about the watch. It doesn't talk about titles. It talks about the journey of growth. Rolex understands that for the new generation, the product is just a medium. The story is the asset. And if they need a face to tell that story, they don't need the best player. They need the person who makes the audience listen. Coco Gauff, with her composure, inspiring family background, and unwavering gaze, is the perfect choice. What about Sabalenka? She has a 198 km/h serve. She has a backhand like cannon fire. But can she sit on a talk show, talk about her journey of growth, family, gratitude, with a gentle smile and a steady gaze? In branding, that is the difference that cannot be ignored. It's not about who plays better. It's about who makes others want to believe in them more. And if you are a multi-billion-dollar brand, who would you choose to entrust the definition of timeless? The storyteller or the one who shouts louder? The internet chooses sides. Hours after Coco posted the Rolex promotional clip, 2 hashtags simultaneously topped global trends on Twitter. Hashtag Coco Gauff and hashtag Rolex Girl. The tennis community, sports magazines, fan pages, even people who don't watch tennis shared it. But alongside the shower of praise, another wave began to simmer and spread. Hashtag still no watch. No one named Sabalenka. But everyone knew she was the hidden protagonist of the new meme wave. A photo composite of Sabalenka looking at her bare wrist with the caption, "Checking for sponsorship deals like," garnered over 50,000 likes. A clip cut from a recent loss, with the superimposed text "Time's up" flying across the screen, spread rapidly. To outsiders, it's just an internet joke. But for an athlete trying to control her image, it's a nightmare. Sabalenka didn't refute, didn't clarify. But a few days later, she posted a single story. A photo of her training shoes, the setting sun, no caption. Loyal fans immediately understood. That was Sabalenka's declaration. No need to speak, just act. And from here, the debate began to separate into two fronts. One side hailed Coco. She is the future of modern sports. The other side defended Sabalenka. She is a symbol of original personality, no filter, no need for approval. The battle is no longer about who plays better. It's about who deserves more recognition. One side is the perfect image, strategic, with depth. The other is vibrant, wild, honest energy. And in the age where social media determines legacy, when every expression can become a meme, the audience doesn't just watch the match, they choose sides. Not based on the shot, but based on the life message. Rebranding time itself. After the Rolex campaign, Coco Gauff stepped into a new era. From a teenage prodigy to an icon growing with the world. Every post-match speech, every meeting with children at the tennis academy, every social media post carries a layer of meaning. She doesn't just say thank you. She tells a story. Doesn't just win a point. She inspires. And that is how modern branding works. Not creating a beautiful image, but creating a consistent journey. Coco's team is not just a simple management group. They operate like a strategic agency. Every appearance has a purpose. Every silence is strategic. They don't need to speak all the time. They know when to let social media do the rest. What about Sabalenka? She is still the instinctive player. When she wins, she yells. When she loses, she cries. When asked a difficult question, she frowns. And precisely because of this, many people love her, because she hides nothing. But in branding, uncontrolled authenticity is sometimes a liability. We are witnessing two types of icons. One is chosen by Rolex to represent three words: precise, powerful, timeless. The other is still learning how to keep time from passing her by too quickly. One tells a story with a gaze. The other tells it with a resounding smash. Both are strong, but only one is invited to wear the most expensive watch. Because in the end, brands don't buy talent. They choose the person who knows how to redefine it. The era of image versus the weight of legacy. In the world of modern sports, where every racket swing can be slowed down 60 times, where every frown can turn into a meme, where every slipped word is immediately analyzed into a brand voice, you are no longer judged only by your achievements, but by the story you leave behind. Coco Gauff understands that. She doesn't need to play more, doesn't need to shout louder. She just needs to appear at the right time, in the right way, and with the right message. Her composure, discipline, inspiring family foundation, and absolutely controlled image strategy have created a rare version. An athlete who is both inspirational and marketable. And Aryna Sabalenka? She is fire. She is the storm. She is the rage that never needed to be hidden. She is the ace like thunder in the otherwise too polite sky of tennis. And because of that, some love her as a phenomenon that cannot be tamed. But also because of that, brands find her difficult to control and difficult to translate into stable value. The world does not lack talented people, but the world is looking for people who can represent an ideology. Coco is the embodiment of the story of overcoming, control, and inspiration. Sabalenka is the embodiment of originality, instinct, and defiance. Rolex didn't choose the wrong person. They simply chose the person who fits their message. But that doesn't mean the other person isn't deserving. The real question is not who is better, but are we living in the age of talent or the age of image? What do you think? Is Coco truly the future of tennis, or just the perfect product of a global branding machine? Share your thoughts in the comments section. And if you want to continue exploring the untold corners of the sports world, where titles are not the only thing that defines greatness, subscribe to the Pro Tennis 360 channel. Because here we don't just talk about who won, but why that person is remembered.